Go ahead.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the first Farm Chat for Buchanan County. I'm Sarah Healy, the local foods coordinator with Extension and Outreach. And behind the camera, we have Shelby Schaefers, the Ag in the Classroom coordinator with Farm Bureau. And today we are here at Timeless Prairie Orchard, just outside of Winthrop. And I'm here with Dave Diffing, one of the owners of the orchard, and he is going to explain their business and how all this whole process works. So I'll pass this off.
Good morning, everyone. Glad you took the time to stop and see us. We are in the middle of our harvest. Generally, it starts Labor Day weekend with our earliest apple. We grow 23 different varieties, and Honeycrisp, the most popular variety, is the one that we do the most growing of. All the apples are on a dwarf rootstock system, so the trees only get about 5 or 6 feet tall. So we try to pick most all of the apples standing on the ground. We don't have to use ladders to get to the top. We use a little grabber if we have to reach up and get that high apple that's up on the top. But most everybody just goes along the rows, picks the apples that are ripe. This happens to be our late variety. It's an Australian Braeburn called Cumio Crimson. So we test the apples weekly for their sugar content to determine if they're actually ripe and ready to be picked. Cumio Crimson is a late apple.
Okay, we're back. I gotta turn the camera. Hold on. Oh, there it is. All right, go ahead.
Okay. All the varieties are picked in a yellow tote that I've got here. We were just down and picking. This is a Japanese variety called Shizuka, and they're going to a restaurant in the Cedar Rapids area this afternoon. So we pick the fresh apples. We take them into the building for processing, which we'll show you in a little bit, and then we box them and grade them based upon where the apples are going to be sold. The different varieties are Macintosh and Cortlands are pretty popular in the Midwest, and then we have some unique varieties called Snow Sweet, and Sweet 16 actually has a little taste of licorice to it, so people are kind of excited about trying an apple of that type. So if you want to, we'll walk over and show you some of the newer orchards. This orchard was planted in 2003 to 2009. It has 4,000 trees total in the north and the south orchard. The blue building that you saw a minute ago is the control center for the irrigation system. So these trees get watered based upon the soil moisture reading that we get from our weather station, and it turns on and off, and it goes around, and it takes about 6,000 gallons a day to water the trees here in the orchard when they get a drink, when they're really, really thirsty. So I'll show you over here. This is our newest orchard, and also the weather station. We're participating with Iowa State University in an experimental program for frost protection on some of our newer trees. But this weather station is solar powered. It reads the soil moisture, it reads the weather, degree days, the rainfall, leaf wetness, and the soil temperatures for us. So based upon that data, we determine what we're going to be doing here in the orchard. We practice a program called Integrated Pest Management, which is actually monitoring for the potential of insects at a particular time during the year. And the weather station will tell us when an insect is likely to come into the orchard. So then we use pheromones, which are a scent for that insect that we put throughout the orchard. And there would be over 400 different pheromones that we use to attract a bug, thinking it's another insect, and it's not. It's a pheromone, and it keeps the populations much lower than we need to for spraying if we have to. So you can see the black pipe going up and down the length of the row. That is for frost protection. In the spring, if the weather is going to be below 35 degrees, then this weather station automatically kicks on a valve which releases the water down through these rows, and a sprinkler will mist the trees and keep the blooms from freezing during the spring. So that's hopefully what we're going to be using. Hopefully we don't have to use it, but you never know. It's part of the experimental program from Iowa State. So this is a 10-acre orchard. We added this new, what we call the West Orchard, to that. With this, we added 1,500 new trees and a new variety called Evercrisp that is from a grower out of Ohio. And they've also asked us to be an experimental grower for some of their other varieties that they're putting in. So we have 65 experimental trees also in the orchard of new things that they want us to try and see how they grow in the state of Iowa.
How many total trees do you have?
We have 6,000 trees total, and that's both the orchards combined in terms of the orchard. So,
Okay.
all right, if we have some time, we'll walk into the processing building. This was all corn and beans when we first took over the orchard. Everything up to the edge of the house was all planted, so we took out the corn and beans and started putting in apple trees, and we now have apples that are sold at the farmers markets in Independence, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Cedar Falls, Waterloo, and the downtown Des Moines farmers market. And then we do grocery stores in the area, New Pioneer Cooperative, Hy-Vee stores in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and we also have a group of restaurants in Chicago that will buy our Honeycrisp apples for their needs. So we keep pretty busy during the season that we're
Do
going
we need
through.
that bucket of apples?
I'm sorry?
Do we need the bushel of apples?
I'll get them later because I need another one, yeah. So this is...
Okay, you're live again, but I gotta switch. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right. All the apples are picked by the people that have come out to take the training and learn how to pick apples for us. And then we pick them up on the trailer that you saw, and we bring them into the processing area. Depending on where the apple is going to be delivered, it's then graded and sorted. And we'll show you how that's done on the processing.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So, should I take questions?
Yeah, do we have a question?
Don't see anyone connected. Do I need to do this? I don't see any questions at the
Okay.
moment. Do you want to maybe share a little bit about why you guys started the orchard and what?
Yeah, we started this project just being in the Chicago area. We belong to the Chicago Botanical Garden, and there's a group called MidFEX, Midwest Fruit Explorers, that talks to people about backyard orcharding using dwarf apple trees. And so in doing that, you could have 2 or 3 dwarf apple trees in your corner of your backyard and grow these great apples just like we do here, but not on a big scale. So we brought that concept here, and it was just at that time that Honeycrisp was coming on as a very popular apple. So we talked to a tree expert in Michigan. We said, we're in the Minnesota climate. Honeycrisp was developed in Minnesota, and it needs a cold winter to develop a full-flavored apple bud. So with that, he said, your best apple to grow in this climate is Honeycrisp. So that's why we planted. Of the 6,000 trees we have right now, 5,000 are Honeycrisp. And then we have all the other varieties that are part of it. So we started this, and we had full-time jobs for a while in Chicago, and then we retired, and this is now our fun in retirement. It's just busy. For 10 weeks is when we go nonstop from from Labor Day until the end of October with the farmers markets, and then we continue to deliver grocery stores and the University of Iowa until February, and the restaurants as well, until the apples are gone. So that's what we keeps us busy. So this is the processing area. All the apples are brought in. They're staged by the variety that are picked, and we try to keep the sun off of them so they aren't affected by the sun. But each of these totes holds about 3/4 of a bushel of apples, and then based upon the date they were picked, they'll stay here for a couple days. It tends to help the apple not go into shock if we pick it and put it right into the cooler. So it sits here and tempers for a couple days, and then we move them into the cooler for storage until they get processed and sold. So we can walk in here and send to our small corner market. We call it the hole in the wall because it was a hole in the corn crib that we had when we first took over the orchard. This is our cooler that we put the apples in once they're ready to be stored. It holds about 600 bushels of apples. We've got different varieties in there now. And then On Thursday through Sunday, we have this market open where people can come in and buy apples and jams and jellies and taste the different varieties that we have available. Our processor is pretty simple. We don't have apples loaded, but the apples do go on the processor when they first come in. I should just get we'll move it this way. And all the apples then go down and they're shined, but we don't add any wax, we don't add any water. All it does is just take the natural wax of the apple and it buffs it and shines the apple. So we kind of show you, this is an apple that has not gone through the processor. And this is an apple that has gone through the processor. So you can see the difference in the natural shine of the apple and the wax. So it's kind of fun. It just takes the apples and it moves them down. There's a corkscrew brush that will send the apple over to the other conveyor, and then the apples come back to us on the other side. You can see they start piling up, so we kind of move them along and get ready to do the sorting of the apples when they're ready. And these happen to be Honeycrisp apples that are going to different varieties of retailers. We've got restaurants, we have farmers markets, we've got grocery stores. Each of the apples that go to a grocery store get a little sticker. Let me show you that. And it does designate this as a apple from Timeless Prairie Orchard. It says Honeycrisp, Timeless Prairie Orchard, Winthrop, Iowa on the sticker. So, is it upside down?
Yep.
Didn't realize that.
There we go.
There we go. So if you're shopping at your local grocery store and you want to find, is it a Honeycrisp from Timeless Prairie Orchard, then that's the way you can figure that out.
Cool.
So,
Do they have any questions?
I don't see any. This says it pop up, so we have a
Okay.
viewer though finally.
Yay!
Yay!
So let's see, what else do we need to cover? Anything you want to add?
Add.
Can we see the inside of the
yeah,
drawer?
sure. These are all apples going to Iowa City this afternoon. So we staged those out here, and then this is where this is kept at about 38 degrees, and thermals. These are some of the hail kits. These are our smaller snacky Honeycrisp apples. These are galas that are ready to be success, and we've sold out of almost Blondies and Zestars, some of our earlier apples. These will stay in here until January if they aren't sold, but we sell these first, and they go into the containers that are out here that have apples stored in them, and we move them into the schooler for convenience. The containers would be picked up at the end of November, and then everything is stored in the schooler. So. Oh, okay. We were talking this morning. Our preferred method of picking apples is to clip the apple off of the tree. So we're not injuring the tree in any way. And we take the stem off of the apple because we don't want it to poke another apple when it's in the box or in the processing building. I was out in the orchard and I found one of our pickers got too excited and started pulling the branches. You can see here, here's an apple that actually came off with the leaf cluster on it. And in doing that, every tree has an apple bud that it is set for next year's crop. And at the end of this limb is the apple bud for next year's crop. So by picking the apple in this way, they've ripped the apple for next year off the tree. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to injure the tree in any way. We want to make sure that when we prune the trees in the winter, we want to do it the way that we like to have it done. There are certain limbs that need to come off, and so there's a method to balancing the tree for the season. And if they're pulling the crop off by pulling the limbs, then it's injuring the tree and it's also cutting back on the possible crop next year. So little things like that are important in growing apples here in the Midwest. So.
Perfect.
Still no questions?
No, not right now.
We're glad you came to see us, and certainly come out to see us at the orchard if you have a chance. We're located just outside of Quasqueton, Iowa, on Highway D47, or you can look us up online at timelessprairieorchard.com.
We do just have a question. They asked, why do you choose to cut the apples off? So I know you just talk about it, but
Every apple has a stem, and some have a longer stem than others. Some have a very stiff stem. And if we clip the stem off the apple and put it in the box, then that stem isn't there to poke another apple and create a hole in the apple. Or when we go through the processing machine, the apples are rolling and spinning, and if there's a stem on it, it could poke another apple as it goes down that machine. Or in the storage boxes that are delivered, those stems could injure another apple as well. So we like to clip the stem and leave it on the tree and let Mother Nature take care of it.
all right, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you.